9:06 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Mac Morey's out today. The Chiefs weren't playing, so I can only assume that he's actually sick, so feel better, Mac. Johnny B is actually producing.
How you doing, my brother?
This is the first time.
Yes, it is.
That we've done my show together.
Well, we actually did about 15 minutes one time.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first extended period.
Yes,
of time.
it is.
I'm excited to have you here.
I am too, man. I'm excited to be here.
I feel like this is an honor. When I first got to Nashville, the show that I loved the most was you and Phil.
Oh, thank you.
And that's the reason I fell in love with this station, and you were a huge part of that.
Well, God bless you. I appreciate you saying that.
But to be able to have you as my producer, I got to tell you, I'm just I'm excited.
Well, I'm excited to be with you, man. You're a great talent.
It feels like I made it. Like this is a big deal. This is a big deal for me. So I'm big excited to have Johnny B producing. Ken Weaver in the newsroom. It's like look at the greatness I'm surrounded by with you guys.
You have the Keith Richards and Ron Wood of WTN.
It's amazing. I'm excited. I wish that we could do this every day.
Well, that would be fun.
That would be great. And then when the Chiefs play, I wouldn't have to be nervous.
Well, he is legitimately sick.
Yes, I understand.
Yes.
But pencil me down for the day after the Super Bowl, okay, Johnny?
You got it. I'll keep my schedule clean.
I may need you again. The Johnny B's producing. Ken Weaver in the newsroom. You on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. 2968 already texted in and said, OMG, just kiss and get it over with.
Boy.
I can't say anything nice.
Kiss this.
I can't say anything. Yeah, kiss something else.
That's right.
Jerk. I'm going to look at your text history. I'm going to find out who you are. All right, so
it's probably my ex-wife.
It's Johnny's ex-wife. That's hilarious. We're excited to be here. There's a bunch going on. I do have to talk immediately about Nikki Haley and what she's doing on Twitter. So her social media team is terrible. And at this point, I think that she needs to either take a break from social media or purge her entire social media team. Like, purge everybody. When the debates were going on, she couldn't post social media clips. The debates on CNN that nobody watched because Donald Trump wasn't there. Your only chance to get people eyes on your statements and your wins at the debates is social media. You would post one clip from your social media debates. Weak. Absolutely weak. Then on the flip side, she started posting these notes. Have you seen the notes that she's been posting? She's posting love letters from supporters.
Oh, no.
So the first time she did it, they looked fabricated, but I let it go. It's like a handwritten note on lined paper, but it's not handwritten, it's computer generated. I'm like, maybe it's a real thing, maybe they dressed it up for social media. But last night, she posted a tweet, Americans want a choice in this election, not a rerun. I'm overwhelmed by all the kind words. We'll keep working hard to make you proud. And she posted a screenshot, right? Let me read the message from her posted screenshot, and then I'll explain to you why it's absolutely ridiculous. It says, to Nikki Haley, please do not give up your fight. In a world that's become crazy with strife, we need a level-headed conservative leader to navigate us through the insanity. No one is more capable than you are to right the ship and heal this great nation. We need you, Nikki. This country needs you. Our allies and the beautiful people of this world need you. I don't want to see you give up. And I guarantee you there are millions more out there who feel exactly as I do. Signed, Michael B. The only problem is this is a screenshot of a draft email from Gmail. And you can see the send button has not been clicked. There's no subject in the email. It's completely fabricated. Like, if you're going to do it right. Please do it right.
Yes.
So she sends this, and she posts it. She's absolutely getting roasted on social media, and rightfully so. And that's not her only flub. That's not her only flub. The other day, she also... Have you seen the Spirit Halloween memes where they post a costume and the candidate, it's like... So she posted a Spirit Halloween, and it's a picture of Trump. It says, weakest general election candidate ever. And it's a Halloween meme. We're in Valentine's Day meme season. Like, there's an internet culture that she's not grasping at, and either you do it right or don't do it at all. And she just doesn't get it. She thinks she's going to connect with people, but it's doing the exact opposite because she's getting ratioed to high heaven on these posts, and she doesn't seem to understand why. Now, ratioing is when you get far more negative comments than you get likes or dislikes. So on the Halloween post, she had not over 9,000 comments, and the majority being hate comments. Only 1,000 retweets, only 6,000 likes. So that's a ratio. On the post with the fake email, she also is getting ratioed. 4,000 negative comments, 1,000 retweets, 1,000 likes. You're not doing it.
No.
You're not doing it. And then her new talking point, have you heard her new talking point? Her new talking point is, well, there's going to be a female president, whether you like it or not. It's either me or Kamala Harris. That's her new talking point. So she's on Fox News, and the Fox News host, I think it was Martha McCallum, roasts her in the beginning anyway.
So give us a sense, we talked in Iowa, we talked in New Hampshire, and, the gap was larger, obviously, in Iowa. Then Trump beat you by about 11 points in New Hampshire. So how much would you have to close this gap, which is about 26 points apart in your home state of South Carolina, in order for you to say, I'm going to keep going?
Well, she's going to keep going as long as the big donor money is there. And we all know that. But after Martha McCallum dunks on her and says, you've lost every single race that you've been in against the man, she goes back to this talking point that she's been using again and again. And the talking point is, well, it's either me or Kamala Harris.
Well, first of all, I think you have to go back to New Hampshire. We moved 25 points in the 3 weeks prior to the election in New Hampshire.
Mostly Democrats.
If you're going to talk about this poll today, I would say that you should also talk about the Quinnipiac poll that came out yesterday that showed that Donald Trump loses to Biden by 7 points, and I beat Biden by more than 7 points. So, the fact is this comes down to Trump lost in 2018. He lost in 2020. He lost in 2022. How many times do we have to lose to realize that we've got to get this right?
So, all right, he lost in 2018. That happens a lot historically. He lost in 2020. Some people will argue the specifics behind that loss. He lost in 2022. Wasn't on the ballot.
When we look at the situation, we will have a female president. It will either be me or it will be Kamala Harris.
This is the new talking point. That's the new talking point. It's either me or it's Kamala Harris.
Take your choice.
And maybe the internal polling was like, hey, the only politician that people like less than you is Kamala Harris.
It will either be me or it will be Kamala Harris. If you nominate Donald Trump as the Republican nominee, Joe Biden will win and Kamala Harris will become president. That's a fact.
That's a fact. And she brings up the Quinnipiac poll. I saw the Quinnipiac poll. I don't know. With polls, I always find myself going, I like the ones that are in my favor, and I don't like the ones that aren't in my favor. And I'll be honest with you, I have that bias. There are polls out there that show Trump is leading in all of the swing states. All of them. Bloomberg Morning Consult poll has him up in every swing state and up by as much as 10 points in some swing states. So there's polls that are in our favor. She's going to lean on that one. I understand. That's what people do with polls. And you know what? Full disclosure, I lean on the polls that are in our favor as well. There's another poll that says Minnesota is actually in play for Donald Trump. Minnesota. They say Biden leads Trump by only 3 points in Minnesota, and that's a KSTP Survey USA poll. Only by 3 points. I think that there might be some truth to that poll. Now, there's a lot of people in the Democrat Party that are under that umbrella that have competing ideologies. And as we know about Minnesota, there's a large Muslim population. Ilhan Omar pledged allegiance to Somalia because she wanted to win over her constituents in Minnesota. And we know about the Muslim population. they don't like Joe Biden because of his actions in Israel versus Hamas. And there's been multiple Gaza protesters about all of this action by Joe Biden. And there's the whole abandon Biden movement that's happening in the Muslim communities in those states. So it's Michigan, Minnesota, all those states with large Muslim populations. And in fact, it was just yesterday, Thursday, Biden had a campaign stop in Michigan. And there were Gaza protesters out there chanting F Joe Biden. Video footage is on Twitter. You can find it. I was gonna edit it and play it, but it's like we've heard those chants. We've all heard those chants. But the protesters arrived with Palestinian flags and banners, and they accused Joe Biden of genocide, like they always do. And we've heard at a lot of campaign stops with Joe Biden that they have a strategy to combat this because they know people don't like him for this reason. So when they start chanting, Genocide Joe or protesters interrupt him, his core or the donors that are paid to be there start chanting 4 more years. They have a strategy to combat this. One banner at this protest outside his campaign stop in Michigan read, "Working class says hell no, Genocide Joe." They're not going to vote for him. The Muslim population is not going to vote for Joe Biden. Will that be a huge difference in the race? I'm not sure. But I do think in key swing states like Minnesota, it may play a factor. In Michigan, it may play a factor. Does that mean they're going to vote for Trump? I don't know. Maybe not. But they definitely don't want to vote for Joe Biden. So when I see the poll that Minnesota's in play and Biden leads Trump by only 3 points, you know that scares the hell out of Democrats. I think that this one has a lot more truth to it than maybe the Quinnipiac poll. But again, I'm biased. Take it for how you want to take it. And the swing state poll, I believe it. I've lived in a lot of these swing states and checking the temperature of people on the ground that are in those areas. I don't know how the hell he lost Pennsylvania in the last election, but especially with how much better things got after 2016 in those Rust Belt states. But that's another discussion for another day. I do look at those swing state polls, and I tend to believe it. I tend to believe it. Plus, Trump, he's booming. Did you know he was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize? Nobel Peace Prize. Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize, and he was bombing kids.
Yeah, in fact, he had just become president, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he got one, and what was the reason for that? I think it was bombing kids, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was for bombing those kids. But anyway, Trump got a Nobel Peace Prize, or he was nominated for one on Tuesday. Rep. Claudia Tenney has announced that she nominated Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, citing his groundbreaking efforts to foster peace and cooperation between Israel, Bahrain, Morocco, Sudan, and the United Arab Emirates via the Abraham Accords. Isn't it amazing how just 3 years ago, we were on the verge of peace in the Middle East, and now under Joe Biden, we're on the verge of World War III because of his actions in the Middle East? It's insane how they said Trump would start World War III. Joe Biden said Trump would get us into war with Iran, and here we are staring down the barrel of World War III and war with Iran, and it's because of Joe Biden. Yeah, Trump. Nobel Peace Prize nominee. He's, in fact, I believe he's the only presidential candidate running right now that is a Nobel Peace Prize nominee. Rep. Claudia Tenney said the valiant efforts by President Trump in creating the Abraham Accords were unprecedented and continue to go unrecognized by the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, underscoring the need for his nomination today. She continued, now more than ever, when Joe Biden's weak leadership on the international stage is threatening our country's safety and security, we must recognize Trump for his strong leadership and his efforts to achieve world peace. I'm honored to nominate President Donald Trump today and am eager for him to receive the recognition he deserves. I say good. He does deserve some recognition.
Yes, he does.
I mean, but with what he did with the Abraham Accords was historic. And then you can go down the line. The first president in decades to start no new wars. None. He crossed the DMZ into North Korea and was on good terms with them. No invasions of Ukraine while Trump was in office. You can go down the list. Trump is good for America. He's good for the world. And I do tend to agree that Minnesota is in play. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Find me on Instagram, Twitter, Truth Social. All of them are at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back.
Rolling roadblock for pothole patching underway again. This is in Robertson County. It's affecting 24 eastbound right there before Maxey Road. That is a 43-minute delay. And then look for Murfreesboro Pike at Donaldson Pike. Got a crash reported there. And right now in our nation's capital, Jim Jordan issuing more subpoenas. Details at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I got a list of things that is more popular than Nikki Haley, and rolling pothole repair is actually pretty high on that list. Just full disclosure.
It's the hole we want the most.
I like it much more. Yeah.
Nothing like that rolling pothole repair.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, nothing makes a commuter's day like that.
Oh. I didn't get a chance to play this audio from this week. Did you guys hear Rep. Garcia out of California talking about Trump's vision for the border wall?
No.
Oh, my gosh. You have to hear this. This is what he says Trump wants for the border wall.
I want to remind the public that Donald Trump and House Republicans also have their own ideas for the border. So let's review the majority's border ideas that they've actually presented. Here they are. Donald Trump actually has said that he wants to build alligator moats.
Alligator moats. I'm already voting for the guy. You don't have to sell me.
I was getting ready to say, that's a deterrent.
Listen, the best part about this is he has a graphic designer design what the border wall would look like with an alligator moat. And it's not just the alligator moat, because there's more than the alligator moats, according to Rep. Garcia, which is what Donald Trump wants. I was already like, you don't have to sell me on the guy. I want to vote for him. But there's more. Wait, there's more.
Alligator moats along the border. That's one of his incredible ideas. Another idea that Donald Trump has promoted is he actually wants to electrify the border fence and maybe even put some spikes on the border. That's another Donald Trump and MAGA majority border idea.
That's a deterrent.
That would work.
That would work. Keep
That
people
would
out,
work.
wouldn't it?
Are you selling us? What are you trying to do?
You've done it.
I feel like this is a great campaign ad.
Another idea, which I'm not sure how well it would go, is he wants to actually bomb northern Mexico with missiles. That's another Trump idea.
I don't remember hearing that one.
I never heard that. one.
Yeah, I've never heard that either.
That's no.
You got me on alligator moats and electrifying it, though.
Yeah.
But Trump has a good relationship with the Mexican president.
Yes,
I don't think he would bomb northern Mexico. I think he would just make Mexico put some troops there.
And finally, I think one of the ones that I think is the most grotesque is suggestions that instead we should maybe just shoot migrants in the legs as they cross the border. So once again, the Donald Trump and MAGA plan is alligator moats, bombing northern Mexico, shooting migrants in the legs, and electrifying the fence and putting spikes on them.
All would be more effective than what Joe Biden is currently doing. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$9:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Right now in our nation's capital, the prosecutor going after former President Trump in the Georgia election interference case is the subject of a House Judiciary Committee subpoena. Chairman Jim Jordan demanding Fani Willis turn over documents from her office. Following allegations, Willis fired a whistleblower who tried to stop a top campaign aide from misusing federal funds. New numbers from the Labor Department this morning show the U.S. jobs market is in strong shape. The new jobs report showing 353,000 workers hired in January, way above expectations. And right now in Tennessee, lawmakers may change the way schools respond to fire alarms. The idea is that sending kids outside immediately makes them easy targets for mass shooters. It's what happened 6 years ago in Parkland, Florida. Well, a bill by House Majority Leader William Lamberth would change protocol for unannounced fire alarms to make sure they're real before sending kids outside. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. It is still cold out, and if you haven't gotten your heater serviced, now is the time to do it. Don't wait for a problem to pop up. Make sure that your system is serviced the best way, the Busy Bee way with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Plus, if a problem pops up this time of year, you could be waiting for a little while. Not if you're a Beehive member, though. You get front-of-the-line service, 10% off all repairs, no overtime charges, and service 24/7. Being a Beehive member will get you those added rewards and savings. You should sign up for that. My wife is pumped that were Beehive members. Now, whether you need that annual maintenance, repair, or a replacement plumbing, heating, or air system, you got to call who I trust, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You're not going to find a better value on these replacement systems. The guys at Busy Bee offer up to 12 months, no payment, no interest with approved credit, and it'll pay in so many ways to link up with Busy Bee. Remember, they have convenient Saturday availability for those maintenance calls, so you'll never be left out in the cold. Busy Bee, your Rude Pro partner for satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833 or online at busybeehvac.com.
So once again, the Donald Trump and MAGA plan is alligator moats, bombing northern Mexico, shooting migrants in the legs, and electrifying the fence and putting spikes on them. That is the Donald Trump border plan.
You know, I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. That was Rep Garcia out of California. And a lot of people on the Super Text line added, can we get sharks with laser beams? I had multiple texts asking if they could get sharks with laser beams.
With laser beams.
One super texter, it was so funny. He said, I did notice in the graphic that Rep Garcia had, because he had a big graphic behind him.
Yeah.
That he had, paid taxpayer money to get this made, by the way. And it had electric symbols over the fence, right, over the wall. And it had a moat with alligators in it. And the super texter said, I couldn't help but notice that there were no migrants in the river with the alligators.
Looks like it worked.
It sold us again.
It's already working. It's working. Another super texter or a listener called in and said that Trump did say he would bomb northern Mexico. Not Northern California.
Yeah.
Northern Mexico.
Don't start that.
Jeez. But it was to go after drug cartels. So.
Yes. He was going to bomb the cartels.
Yes. Which, all right.
Okay, once again, a great selling point.
Yeah. I'm already voting for the guy. Yeah. Everybody, sharks with laser beams, please. Yep. All right. So, this isn't the only ridiculous Democrat that's been making statements this week. Gavin Newsom was caught on a Zoom call, which it blows my mind because he's on a Zoom call, and one of the people that you would assume works for him is recording this. And he's on a Zoom call talking about how he was at Target and witnessed retail theft. He witnessed retail theft, and he was shocked. I was shocked as well. I didn't realize that Gavin Newsom would be doing his own shopping at Target. It was flabbergasting. But Gavin Newsom talked about the shoplifting incident that he witnessed himself at a Target in California.
Says, sir, you dropped this. And he comes back, picks it up, and keeps walking out. As we're checking out, the woman says, oh, he's just walking out. He didn't pay for that. I said, well, why are you stopping? She goes, oh, the governor.
So Governor Newsom is in a hat, down low. He notices somebody walking out of a Target shoplifting, and the governor goes, why didn't you stop him? Your laws on the books, sir? The employee at Target says, the governor. I didn't stop him because of the governor.
Swear to God, true story. And my mom's great. The governor lowered the threshold. There's no accountability. I said that's just not true.
So now he's getting irate with a Target employee. She doesn't know who he is. The governor lowered the threshold. There's no accountability. I think we can all agree when you see what's happening in California, it's a result of no accountability. But the governor says to this Target employee who he's now arguing with in the checkout line, that's not true.
And I said, we have the 10th toughest, $950, the 10th toughest in America. She doesn't even know what I was talking about. By the way, it's the 10th toughest in America. Look it up. No one gives a damn about that. And I said, it's just not true. There's still stop. He said, well, we don't stop them because of the governor. And then she looks at me twice, and then she freaks out. She calls everyone over, wants to take photos. I'm like, no, I'm not taking a photo. We're having a conversation. Where's your manager?
So once she realizes who this guy is, that he's the governor, she wants to take a photo. But Gavin Newsom goes full Karen on her and doesn't want to take a photo. He wants to speak to her manager.
She calls everyone over, wants to take photos. I'm like, no, I'm not taking a photo. We're having a conversation. Where's your manager?
Oh.
How are you blaming the governor? And it was,
I'm going to have a conversation with your manager for blaming the governor. This is real life.
Full Karen.
He went full Karen.
He sure did.
I don't use that term lightly. She wanted a photo with him after blaming him. I'm not going to take a photo with you. I'm going to talk to your manager for blaming the governor.
Gonna talk to the manager.
Excuse me, sir. The woman on aisle 9 just blamed the governor. And he's telling this story on a Zoom meeting with people that he thinks are like-minded that are going to rally behind him like, yeah, did you get her fired?
Tell him, buddy. I'm telling on you.
I'm telling. How dare you?
And it was, $380 later. And I was like, why am I spending $380? Everyone can walk the hell right out.
Why am I spending $380 if everybody can walk out? Is this his first trip to Target in California in some years?
Must be.
Probably.
I know during COVID he was still going out to restaurants and things like that when he had the majority of his state locked down.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's been to retail stores in quite a while. So he has a talk with this woman's manager, this poor woman. I feel like we should set up a GoFundMe because the governor probably got her fired from Target.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Not fair. Not fair.
Not fair.
It ain't fair.
That ain't fair. Why am I spending $380 if you could just walk out? Governor, the people in your state have been saying that for a long time.
And they're doing it.
It's like, does this guy not have the internet? I saw a Christmas tree get stolen off the top of a car in California in December. The liberals in this country. And he calls the manager on her.
Boy.
He called the manager.
What a child.
I'm going to have a conversation with your manager for blaming the governor.
I'm telling on you.
This poor woman wanted to have a photo.
That's all she wants.
That's it.
That's a way to, really galvanize your constituents, bring them together. Yeah, way to go, Gov.
This is what these liberals do. They don't understand that what's happening in their states are a result of their policy.
Bingo.
That's it. So there's more. I got so much about this. In Bellevue, Washington, the mayor and city managers are pointing fingers at police after anti-Israel activists were allowed to block intersections.
So they're blaming the police.
They're blaming the police for the protesters. The same Democrat officials that argued to defund the police are now mad at the police for not doing their job.
Figures.
Yeah.
Local officials are pointing fingers in response to community backlash over anti-Israel activists blocking intersections in downtown Bellevue on Sunday in their attempt to protest inside a mall after police were allegedly prevented from stopping them.
Good Lord.
According to Discovery Institute senior fellow Jonathan Cho, the agitators use a car and bike brigade to block 4th and Bellevue Way for nearly an hour. He added a lot of these far-left activists are the same folks that took over a highway in Seattle earlier this month. The Bellevue Police Department monitored the situation from distance, but did not attempt to stop the activists from blocking roads and intersections. And a spokesperson recommended people find alternative routes, and they understood the demonstration could be an inconvenience, but their hands are tied by the local government. That it's unreal. And you see these protesters, they get mishandled by police during the Summer of Love, and then they're awarded millions of dollars. The police know, I don't want to get involved in this because then it's going to be my face on TV after I'm fighting protesters, and they're going to call me all these crazy names. But, the police didn't arrest the protesters. And according to sources, it's the same mayor and acting city manager that were holding them back from stopping the protesters. The same mayor and city manager that are blaming police after backlash.
Figures.
Unbelievable. Jonathan Cho, who I actually know Jonathan. He's from Massachusetts. He's a good guy. He's a reporter in Seattle. I don't know why he would want to live in Seattle, but he's out there doing good work. And he's reported on all of this, and he has letters from the mayor. People are upset, and they just blame the police. They blame police. Residents were shocked by the lawlessness. Shocked. Downright aghast. But wait, there's more. There's more. There was another group of city officials that were meeting. And these city officials were meeting to talk about car thefts There was a whole group of city officials from a bunch of different cities. It was Philadelphia, Austin, Texas. What else? What other cities were they? Baltimore, New York City, Seattle. All of them were meeting to talk about car thefts, and they figured out the issue. It's the people that make cars.
It happens every day. Kias and Hyundais stolen and used to fuel crime.
The failure of Kia and Hyundai to install industry standard theft prevention technology in their vehicles has left our cities to clean up the mess.
How could Kia keep getting away with this?
And Hyundai.
So just to be clear, Democrat leaders are blaming Target employees for shoplifting. They're blaming police for protesters, and they're blaming Kia for car theft.
We heard today from folks in Baltimore, in New York, in Austin.
Today, Seattle City Council member Tammy Morales taking aim at car makers, demanding they recall and repair models that are easy to steal.
The resolution and the lawsuit are really about corporate responsibility.
The most familiar part of Kia theft is this: stolen cars used as battering rams to bust into businesses.
They should go after the contractors for making those business walls not strong enough to deal with a car battering ram. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We need to up those standards. How can the general contractors be getting away with this?
No doubt you've seen it plenty of times, but somehow this was news to Councilmember Morales.
Well, that's a good question. I haven't heard that these stolen cars are being used for smash and grab.
There's millions of videos on the internet about this.
Really?
Well, I didn't know that. Oh, maybe they will go after general contractors for not making the walls reinforced. Blaming Kia for car theft. Never seen a video of a smash and grab robbery.
Morales acknowledged Kia thieves often get away unafraid to run from police.
It is young people who can very easily access these cars and who are stealing them.
Do you think there should be stiffer penalties when people do steal these cars?
What do you think she says? Probably no.
No.
Well, I think there are penalties for car theft, and those should be, they should be, folks who steal them should be held accountable.
Oh.
Held accountable.
So the folks that steal cars should be held accountable while we're holding a meeting going after Kia for allowing people to steal cars.
And not to mention those people that paved the road. By gosh, they wouldn't have made it there had it not paved that road.
Oh, those roads.
Well, there'd be no place to drive if there were no roads.
Well, that's better.
Problem solved.
In any event, Morales wants the companies to pay the city for the costs of dealing with the stolen Kias and Hyundais. As for the incentive for youth to steal the cars,
In court, do you think the lack of deterrent from getting caught or not being chased, do you think that plays into the decision by some of these young folks to steal these cars?
Well, I won't speak to the motivations of young people, except to say that they are young people. And when issued a challenge, especially on something like social media, they like to take it up.
I won't speak to the motivations of young people, but I'm pretty sure it's also social media's fault. After the meeting where they've decided to blame Kia, they will be going after big tech and general contractors, I can only assume.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
These are like the biggest liberal cities in the country.
Re-elect her.
And they will. That's the sad part.
I mean, you got California's governor blaming Target employees for theft. and talking to their manager for blaming the governor. You have Democrat leaders in Baltimore, New York City, Philadelphia, Seattle, and Austin, Texas, blaming Kia for car thefts.
Amazing.
What a world we're living in.
I don't even know what to say about this. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at USS United Structural Systems, your experts in foundation repair and crawl space encapsulation. These guys do it all, and they've been doing it in Middle Tennessee since 1994. They aren't going anywhere. When you work with a new guy in town, you actually have no guarantee about that, or no guarantee that they'll ever be there. If you ever have a warranty issue, you don't need to worry about that with the guys at United Structural Systems. They're good people, honest, hardworking, and proud of the work they do. But they tell me that in their line of work, you don't know you need them until you know you need them. So I challenge you to do this. Walk around your house. Do you notice standing water in your crawl space? Have you seen wet basement walls, cracks in your basement floors, or cracks in your foundation? Well, that could be your house trying to tell you something. And if you're seeing those issues pop up, you should give the guys at USS a call to check it out. They have 25,000 satisfied customers in Middle Tennessee, and I'm confident that you'll be number 25,001. Call them today, 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855, or online at USSTN.com.
Pothole patching going on 24 eastbound in Robertson County. That is a 63-minute delay. It's stop and go starting at Rossview Road. Jim Jordan fires off another subpoena. A new poll shows Biden behind, hiring booming, gun safety courses proposed in Tennessee schools. These stories and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We were talking about the governor of California calling the manager on a Target employee for blaming him for retail theft. The city leaders from Baltimore, New York City, Philadelphia, Seattle, Austin blaming Kia for car thefts. It's unreal. Phil in Murfreesboro, you're next on Super Talk. What's going on, Phil?
Not much. I have one of those Kias they're talking about.
Yes, sir.
And I have a Seltos. And what happens is if you're dumb enough to walk away with the car running, the engine will automatically turn itself off in 30 minutes.
Okay. That's it, man. I appreciate the call. Let's go to Dave in Nashville. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Dave?
Hey, just listening to you guys talking about these knuckleheads. So, it's ridiculous. And you're laughing or somebody's laughing. It ain't funny, man. These people are so demented. I got a son who's a cop. I got a niece who works at Target. And they're out there on the front lines. And, they put their lives on the line every day. And people aren't being held accountable who commit crimes. So I was just saying.
No, I totally get where you're at, Dave. No, but I think it's better to laugh at the absurdity than to just get irate and angry, which is the alternative, and highlight the absurdity. I mean, the fact that you're calling in and saying that your niece works at Target and that's on the front lines highlights the absurdity right there.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world, and
your head explode.
I get it. I mean, but we're laughing because I think that draws more attention to it than me screaming. It is. It's funny to me. I'm sorry. And the fact that, again, niece on the front lines working at Target, that highlights the absurdity right there. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in our nation's capital, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan subpoenaed the Georgia prosecutor in the election interference case there against former President Trump. Jordan's demanding Fani Willis turn over documents from her office following allegations Willis fired a whistleblower who tried to stop a top campaign aide from misusing federal funds. This is part of a broader investigation into whether Willis used federal funds in conducting her more than 2-year investigation into former President Trump. Meanwhile, there's some election 2024 news.
A new national poll shows Biden losing to former President Trump, 49 to 45%. The gap grows even wider in a potential matchup with Nikki Haley.
That's M. Wynn reporting. Money news. The U.S. economy adding 353,000 jobs in January.
A big surprise from the Labor Department releasing its January jobs numbers, and they were far higher than expected. 353,000 jobs are created in January, far higher than the 185,000 that analysts expected. The unemployment rate at 3.7%, that was anticipated. Much of the hiring lately coming in healthcare, hospitality, construction, and local government. In contrast, media, retail, and tech have been shedding jobs after record hiring during the pandemic.
Jobless rate under 4% for the 24th month in a row. And here in Tennessee, gun safety courses could be offered in schools under a bill filed by Madison County Republican State Rep Chris Todd. He tells Channel 4 it would teach kids how to store firearms and what to do if they ever find one. Lawmakers are reviving a bill to allow teachers to carry guns in the classroom. Cookeville Republican State Rep Ryan Williams, the sponsor, telling News 2 teachers would have to have the same training as a school resource officer or SRO. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Information-fueled, opinion-driven.
Government is not the solution to our problems.
The Chris Hand Show.
Government is the problem.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
10:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The one and only Johnny B producing for me today. Ken Weaver in the newsroom. You on the phone lines and the Super Text line at 615-737-9986. Appreciate you guys being here. I really do. We were talking about the liberal hypocrisy with these leaders that we have in some of these blue states and cities. It's unreal. And it is. It's hypocrisy. Somebody asked me if I had seen the Ayanna Pressley Walgreens. What'd she say? She called it like systemic racism.
Yes.
Yeah, Walgreens. Ayanna Pressley's out of Massachusetts. She's a member of the squad. You may have heard it this morning talking on Nashville's Morning News. Dan was talking about it with you guys. I saw this, and I wasn't shocked at all.
Mr. Speaker, Walgreens is planning to close yet another pharmacy in the Massachusetts 7th, this time on Warren Street in Roxbury, a community that is 85% Black and Latino. This closure is a part of a larger trend of abandoning low-income communities like the previous closures in Mattapan and Hyde Park, both in the Massachusetts 7th.
So I'm from Massachusetts. She talks about previous closings in Mattapan. Do you know what they call Mattapan in the Boston neighborhoods? They call it Murder Pan. It's known to the locals as Murder Pan. These stores are leaving because people are stealing. But Ayanna Pressley has a different reason for why it's being closed.
When a Walgreens leaves a neighborhood, they disrupt the entire community, and they take with them baby formula, diapers, asthma inhalers, life-saving medications, and of course, jobs. These closures are not arbitrary, and they are not innocent. They are life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination.
Racial and economic discrimination. Doesn't the squad want to defund police? And now the stores are leaving these neighborhoods because there's high crime? And again, we have another example of a liberal leader blaming someone else for their failures. You have Gavin Newsom blaming Target employees. You have liberal leaders blaming Kia for car thefts. You have mayors blaming police for protests. And now Ayanna Pressley blaming Walgreens for leaving due to crime. It's amazing. It's shocking. But we all saw this coming. You know what blows my mind with Ayanna Pressley? She calls this what did she actually call it?
They are life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination.
Life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination. The rec center that was closed in Massachusetts. There was a rec center closed. Kids rec center. Majority Black area. Closed to house migrants. Where was Ayanna Pressley then? Where is she upset that they're closing a rec center, which, by the way, is also in Roxbury, where they're closing this Walgreens? Where is she then? Why doesn't she have this anger when the kids in her community don't have a safe place to play basketball because of the illegal aliens from the Biden administration? Where is her righteous anger? Why is that not, what did she call it again?
They are life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination.
Why is that? Why, when they closed down the rec center for the Black children in Roxbury, Ayanna Pressley's neighborhood, her stomping ground, where is she? She's silent. She's complacent. She's complicit. But when Walgreens says enough is enough and we can't deal with the losses that we're taking in these neighborhoods, now it's life-threatening.
They are life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination.
The hypocrisy and the mental gymnastics of this woman. It absolutely blows my mind Because as much as I'll never move back to Massachusetts, I still think fondly of my time there, and I still have family that lives there. I have family in Cambridge. I have family up the coast towards Lowell. I have family all over the place. I have friends that live down there. I spent time down there. I got my start in radio there. Like, where's like the care for the people in the community? And she's going to blame Walgreens. But she doesn't care when the same people in these communities are affected by the same crime that Walgreens is leaving because of. And she doesn't care. She doesn't make a peep when the rec center in a Roxbury neighborhood, which is a community hub, a safe space for senior citizens and young people, is closed for illegal aliens. She makes not a peep. I remember a time in this country where being a hypocrite was like one of the worst things you could be. I remember that. It doesn't seem to be that way anymore. And she blames Walgreens. It's Walgreens' fault. Who do you blame for the rec center, Ayanna Pressley? The rec center that's been closed. That would be my follow-up question to her. Where's the righteous anger for that? Anna in Brentwood, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Anna?
Good morning. Well, maybe I just tuned in. Maybe I missed it, but did she mention jobs in there? Was jobs mentioned at all?
Jobs was mentioned. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, it was mentioned. Oh, okay. Well, I don't see many of them working at Walgreens, but thank you. All right. Good show. Bye.
Appreciate it, Anna.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, I like that. All right. 615-737-9986 if you want to weigh in on this. Walgreens closed. It's life-threatening racial discrimination. Mr. Speaker, please. Walgreens is the most racist. She goes on, there's no adequate notice to customers, no transition resources to prevent gaps in healthcare. Shame on you, Walgreens. Shame on your policies. Shame on your stances for defunding the police. Shame on all of the Democrats who have harbored this, criminal behavior to just fester with no reaction from the leadership in these cities. And according to Boston, it's the latest Walgreens to shut its doors. This is WCVB in Boston. It's just the latest Walgreens to shut its doors in recent years. One of approximately 200 stores the company's closing. And they said they would be closing them come 2024. So at the end of the day, we could say that this is probably due to crime and high theft in the area. You also may be able to argue that this downsizing is just what was previously planned. But Ayanna Pressley doesn't bring up the fact that there's a wider trend of Walgreens closing the stores, or the fact that other retailers like Walmart, Target, Best Buy are being forced to shut down throughout the entire United States due to the rising crime and theft. It's wild to me. It's wild. One Twitter user commented on this and said, it's called natural consequences. If you steal or loot too much, stores close. Ayanna Pressley's sense of entitlement is breathtaking.
These closures are not arbitrary and they are not innocent. They are life-threatening acts of racial and economic discrimination.
Racial and economic discrimination. It's amazing. It's amazing. You know, the squad, they always play the race card. Cori Bush, she's under investigation, another squad member. She's out of St. Louis. She's under investigation because of paying her husband for private security. She's facing a Justice Department probe, and she blamed it on right-wing extremists. And new information is coming out that Rep. Cori Bush is now being accused of paying her husband an additional $17,500 from her committee in recent months. Those new filings were submitted to the FEC late Wednesday night to show that her campaign made 7 additional payments to her husband, Courtney Merritt's, between October 1st and December 31st. So she's getting him cash. Tons of cash.
No conflict of interest there.
No, of course not. It was market rate for a security personnel that doesn't have a license to operate in Washington, D.C. or St. Louis, right?
I'm telling you, man. I don't know if it's stupidity or if it's just arrogance.
I think it's hubris.
There you go.
I think it's hubris. And I think that these people really don't think that we're smart enough to see what's going on. Maybe their constituents don't realize what's going on. Maybe when they play the race card, their constituents go, yeah. But everything keeps getting worse as a result of the policies from these people. And they enrich themselves the entire time. Cori Bush, case in point. Also, Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib. And Rashida Tlaib is the other squad member. The squad is Cori Bush, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, and AOC. Well, Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib just voted against a bill to ban Hamas terrorists from entering the U.S. That's the squad. And if this bill had passed and a terrorist attack happens in their community, they'd be like, well, this is because of racism, clearly. But during a vote on Wednesday evening, a bill barring Hamas terrorists from entering the United States, Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib voted against the bill. They voted against allowing terrorists in the country. Luckily, the House voted to pass the bill. But it highlights the insanity of these people. The absolute insanity. HR 6679. It was literally called No Immigration Benefits for Hamas Terrorist Acts. It states that any person who participated in, planned, financed, afforded material support to, or otherwise facilitated the October 7th attack on Israel or attacks after that shall be ineligible for any relief under the immigration laws. And they voted against it. They voted against it. Wild. Absolutely wild. This is who the squad is. You have Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib voting against banning benefits for Hamas terrorists that want to come to the U.S. You have Ayanna Pressley blaming Walgreens for her failed policies, basically forcing the store out of her area, while at the same time not complaining one iota. I haven't heard a peep from her about the rec center in Roxbury that was shut down for illegal aliens. And then you got another squad member in Ilhan Omar who's pledging allegiance to Somalia. And will you hear any of this on the mainstream media? Of course not. Why would you? But you'll hear stuff on the mainstream media about the hate crime charges for the Navy veteran that beheaded a statue in the Iowa Capitol. You'll hear that story. Hate crime charges against Christian veteran who beheaded a statue at the Iowa Capitol. They'll probably leave out the fact that it was the satanic statue that he beheaded. But this poor guy, Michael Cassidy, a veteran of the Navy, is being charged with a hate crime for beheading a statue of Satan at the Iowa Capitol. Hate crime. Polk County prosecutors charged Cassidy with felony third-degree criminal mischief, saying that he acted in violation of individual rights. Well, he wanted nothing to do with the statue. And in Iowa, the Satanists, they're trying to gain ground. In fact, lawmakers in Iowa are considering a bill which would essentially allow school districts to hire or allow chaplains from the Satanic Temple. And the Satanic Temple says they're happy to engage children if that bill passes. That's what the minister of the Satanic Temple stated. And this guy was fed up. And he didn't want this satanic statue in the Iowa State Capitol, and he took it upon himself to behead it, being charged with a felony. Unreal. And the Satanic Temple in Iowa, they're coming after their kids. Shocking. What's up, Bell? Headless Bell's here. This is my first time I've got to say Headless Bell.
This show's different. You don't have the same format as Matt.
No, I'm a little bit different. It's good different though. It's fun. We're gonna have fun together. Are you ready to have fun, Bell?
Yeah, I'm ready for my weekend's going to officially start as soon as Matt gets in, because then I'm just going to go to sleep.
Perfect. It's 10:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, got the pothole patching underway again in Montgomery County, 24 eastbound. That is a 76-minute delay right there through Clarksville. Jim Jordan's firing off another subpoena there from the House Judiciary Committee in D.C. We've had a hiring boom, and Tennessee flu taking a toll. These stories and more at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It's 10:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Headless Bell is now producing. Mac Maury out sick today. Ken Weaver in the newsroom. You guys on the Super Text line at 615-737-9986 and the phone lines. We were talking about the squad, Cori Bush, Rashida Tlaib. They voted against a bill banning Hamas terrorists from the country. They voted against it. Absurd. The bill went ahead anyway, but they voted against it. That wasn't the most radical thing that I saw in Democrats voting against this week. In fact, I saw a story, 150 House Democrats voted against a bill to deport illegal alien drunk drivers. The overwhelming majority of House Democrats voted against legislation this week that would make sure illegal alien drunk drivers are deported from the United States following their convictions. I'll say that again. The overwhelming majority of House Democrats, 150 of them, voted against legislation this week that would make sure illegal alien drunk drivers are deported from the United States following their convictions. Unreal. And honestly, this one makes me furious. You know, we have a guy that calls in all the time, Cedric, and he's a friend of the show. We disagree on some things. We agree on some things. But he called in a couple weeks back, and he said that his friend lost their 2-year-old to an illegal alien drunk driver. The illegal alien drunk driver crashed into the car. The 2-year-old passed away. The 5-year-old daughter seriously injured. His friend's in a dark place over this. And Cedric, doesn't know really which way he's going to vote. I've heard that on a couple occasions. And I hope he's listening because I want him to hear this story. Democrats care more about illegal aliens than they do about citizens, and it proves it right here. The overwhelming majority of House Democrats voted against legislation this week that would make sure illegal alien drunk drivers are deported from the United States following their conviction. 150 House Democrats voted against the Protect Our Communities from DUIs Act by Rep. Barry Moore out of Alabama, which would make drunk driving grounds for ineligibility to be in the U.S. They voted against it. Democrats do not care about you. They value illegal aliens over the citizens. In another vote this week, 155 House Democrats voted against legislation from Rep. Tom McClintock that would ensure ICE agents can promptly deport illegal aliens convicted of Social Security fraud against American citizens. They care more about illegal aliens than they do about citizens. In the Social Security fraud case, where American citizens have their Social Security numbers and identities stolen by illegal aliens, that is super common. That happens a lot. And 155 Democrats said, not a big deal. Why worry about it? Drunk driving, identity theft, stealing Social Security numbers, let them stay. Let them stay. The Democrats show you day in and day out they value the illegal aliens more than they value the citizens. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Right now in our nation's capital, a subpoena for the district attorney in Georgia. going after former President Trump in the election interference case there in Georgia. House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan demanding Fani Willis produce documents from her office related to the alleged firing of a whistleblower who tried to keep a top campaign aide from misusing federal funds. It's Jobs Friday, and it shows January was booming. 353,000 jobs created last month, far higher than the 185,000 analysts had expected. Much of the hiring lately coming in healthcare, hospitality, construction, and local government. And right now in Tennessee, 3 children have died from the flu so far this season. Tennessee leads the nation in the rate of flu cases. The latest numbers from the state health department show Memphis has the highest flu activity in the state, double the rate of Nashville. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
10:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Mac Morey is out sick today. And since the Chiefs didn't play last night, we can only assume that he is actually under the weather. Feel better, Mac. Headless Bell producing now. Thanks for coming in, Bell.
I'll bet you money right now that Mac is stressed out that he's going to be sick Super Bowl day.
he's getting ahead of it. He's got the chicken noodle soup.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Ken Weaver in the newsroom. You guys on the phone lines and the super text line at 615-737-9986. Simon in Briley, or on Briley, has a comment about what we were talking about earlier, that anti-theft on cars. You're talking about the Kias, right?
Yes, Chris Hand. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Oh, great. Anti-theft devices. I could suggest 3-wheel boots, remove your license plates, install a Club 3000, and keyhole plugs are popular. Once again, 3-wheel boots, remove your license plate, the Club 3000, and a keyhole plug.
Thanks for the call. I mean, I get where you're at on protecting your car, but I don't know. I feel like we're in a low trust society now, and the penalties on this stuff has been just brushed aside. Nobody thinks that there's ever going to be any consequences for their actions, and there isn't when Democrat leaders in big cities like Baltimore and New York City and Philadelphia and Seattle and Austin, they blame Kia for car thefts. And I've seen the super text. I understand that these cars are, some people say easier to steal. But I remember a time where you could leave your car running with the keys in it and not have to stress over somebody stealing it. It's a low trust society. And nobody feels like they're going to be held accountable for anything anymore. Like the illegal aliens that beat up the cops in New York City. They're released from jail after attacking cops. On the way out, one of the illegal aliens, on his way out, prances out of jail, flipping up the birds. Exactly. Okay. They don't care. And there's reports that they hopped a bus to California. On our way to California.
Using fake IDs.
Unbelievable. They don't feel like they're going to have any penalties on anything anymore. And they're probably right. CNN was stunned, speechless this morning by reports that the illegal migrants, I hate that we use that word now. It's the left dominates speech, and they twist and they bend it. That's what everybody says. Just the CNN, Erica Hill, stunned, speechless by report illegal migrants run crews that operate in New York, do all of their stealing, and then go to Florida. Because they know they're not going to be charged for crimes in New York.
The back. You don't touch our police officers. You don't touch anybody. Thank you, everybody.
I mean, we're hearing a change when it comes to immigration in general from President Biden on down. To hear her talk about that, it is also directly related to the fact that these were police officers. Does that have any impact? Does that change anything?
Yes, it has plenty of impact because they are the foot soldiers for that liberal administration in New York City. These crimes from illegal aliens have been happening against citizens over and over and over, and you don't get the type of response from Governor Kathy Hochul or Mayor Eric Adams about deporting illegal aliens. It's only when it happens to the police and it's a big fuss that now it's an issue.
Well, it's so complicated because, you're a New Yorker. You move through the city every day as I do. We see these people. We touch these people. They're out looking for work. They're delivering our food. They're at the gas stations and the car wash. These are people who came in waves, 170,000 probably to New York City. But within that group, this hardworking, throngs of people in search of hope and a better life, there is this 1%er, criminal element that looks at a different opportunity here.
1%er? I'd like to see the stats on that. I'd like to know where this individual on CNN compiled his data. Is John Miller talking. He's the chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst on CNN. Oh, there's a 1%. If it's only 1%, they're doing a heck of a lot of damage.
These individuals, I went over their rap sheets yesterday. Multiple charges: grand larceny, robbery, attempted robbery, grand larceny, grand larceny. This particular crew operated on mopeds and scooters. They were doing organized retail theft. They were doing snatches on the street, iPhones, iPads, clothing, so on and so forth.
So they had a rap sheet, and they were probably released without bail for all those crimes as well. Because in New York, there's no cash bail. You can't deport them for any of those crimes. The chief law analyst and intelligence expert on CNN saying they're an organized gang. They've been arrested before. But again, their crimes were against citizens. So the deportation conversation never came up.
One of them that they are still seeking has 10 charges on one day because he's part of a pattern that's been going on. And
10 charges one day.
I'm looking at the dates that their arrest started, which is probably close to when they got here. They've only been here a couple of months.
Only a couple months. Plenty of damage. But listen, like he said, this is clearly only 1%, right? Just 1%.
So what the detectives are telling me is they have crews here that operate in New York, do all their stealing, then go to Florida to spend the money and then come back. And I'm like, well, why don't they just stay and steal in Florida? And they said, because there you go to jail.
Oh, so it's the policies. Isn't that odd? When you enforce the laws, people tend to not do crime. That must be a right-wing conspiracy. That's the only thing that could make sense to me. This must be another right-wing conspiracy. And the illegal aliens, they go to places where they aren't going to enforce the laws and where they're going to get freebies. That's one of the reasons why they go to Chicago. And in fact, Chicago's 9th Ward alderman, his name is Anthony Beale, said just that. They're coming here because we give them all this free stuff.
Now, I've said this before. If you give me 3 meals, housing, child care, education, a voucher for $9,000, you know what? I'll come to Chicago too.
That could talk me into Chicago. That's a good selling point. You take a job in Chicago, a company is not going to give you that kind of benefits.
And that's what they're doing. They're telling people, and they're sending money back to back to Venezuela, to come to Chicago because they're saying, hey, the good times are rolling there. They're taking care of everybody. Now, when we have Venezuelans that are driving cars, where did they get a driver's license?
Yep.
Where did they get insurance from?
Yep.
And then you have Venezuelans being caught with drugs and guns. Where are they getting them from?
Well, that part's probably, it's Chicago. Probably get drugs and guns in a lot of places. But the driver's license point I thought was good. You can't buy a driver's license from a guy on the street. His insurance point was there. But that's why they go to these areas. That's why these blue cities are full to the brim. You see it in New York. They're beating up police officers. In Chicago, this alderman talking about all the freebies that they get. In Massachusetts, they're closing rec centers. New York, they closed the school to house illegals. Massachusetts, they closed a rec center in Roxbury. You know, Ayanna Pressley was bemoaning how Walgreens is leaving Roxbury, but she doesn't say anything when they close the rec center for their residents. There was a woman on the news from Massachusetts, and she kind of made the point that I've been making. The government is prioritizing illegals. And this is a resident from Massachusetts, a black female, and she's echoing what sounds like right-wing extremist talking points. Oh, my gosh.
Don't get me wrong. It's great that they want to help the immigrants. But what about the Americans that are already here? What about the people that are already here that don't have homes, that don't have jobs, that are sleeping on the street already?
She's got to be careful. Talking like this will get you on a list in Joe Biden's America.
Now it's going to destroy our community more and mess our children up more. Why are they not helping the people here first?
She sounds like a right-wing extremist. I'm sorry. She doesn't sound like she's going to vote blue no matter who. But that's the temperature on the ground in a lot of these cities. That's why when you look at Hispanic support, African-American support, it's all trending towards Trump because these people in these communities are fed up with illegal aliens being prioritized over the citizens of these states in these cities. And it's right there for all of us to see. Even the New York City thing, it blows my mind. The cops shouldn't have been assaulted. But nobody's talking about the fact that the citizens have been assaulted, the citizens have been robbed, and deportation was not on the table. It was only once the problem reached their front door, once the NYPD was being assaulted, that the leadership started to take notice. Full disclosure, not a huge fan of the NYPD. And I haven't been since I saw them kick I think it was a 6-year-old kid out of a pizza restaurant for not having his vaccine passport. They follow their orders to a T, even when they're wrong, even when the orders are wrong. And you know what? That's why the local government is sticking up for them. That's why the local government is now talking deportations, because they need the NYPD. They're not going to stick up for the citizens that way. And the citizens have had enough. Mayor Eric Adams didn't even want to answer questions about those illegals being released after beating cops in New York City.
Mayor Adams, any response to the migrants being released?
Oh, he's not taking questions, but thank you. Thank you.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams did not stop to answer questions today about the attack, but told a local station, quote, "Those migrants who are here because they want to be part of the American dream, we say yes to that. But those who are breaking our laws, we need to re-examine the laws that don't allow us to deport them because they're doing violent acts."
But it only became a problem when they started attacking the NYPD. They've been doing this to the citizens for a long time. Blows my mind. It really does. It honestly blows my mind. Neil in White Bluff, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Neil?
So this is where the Republicans need to have their ground game. Go to police union places and vote Republican. Let them know how they're treating the police officers. Go to the black communities. Say Americans first. They are not helping these people, and this is where they need to have their ground game and start letting them know what's going on and pulling those votes.
No, I'm totally with you. That is exactly where you need to have that ground game. And in Chicago especially, and I appreciate your call, Neil. Thanks so much. In Chicago especially, there's residents there that are already speaking up saying that they want Trump because they're sick of these policies.
We sent a direct message, and we asked Trump to come to Chicago, come here and walk these streets with us. And we'll put thousands behind him as he walks the streets. And that's a fact. That's a promise.
Fantastic.
That's what they're saying. That's the temperature on the streets. Ronnie in Murfreesboro, you're next on Super Talk. What's going on, Ronnie?
Yeah, I was listening to you. You almost sound sympathetic to the people in New York.
I do. I feel sympathetic to anyone who has to deal with a government that doesn't care about them.
I don't. They voted that government in.
Fair enough. But they didn't vote for illegals to come across and stream across and cause crime and havoc. They may have been they may have been guided. They may have been misguided, and they let the sweet nothings of free things whisper into their ears and tell them a story. But If they knew what they were going to get, they would have never voted for this. I can't imagine that.
I doubt it. Those same ones would probably vote for the same way the next as the 24 election. So I can't. I'm not sympathetic toward it.
You may be right.
Sorry.
You may be right. But you see those areas that are voting Trump in New York City, they're getting punished. That school that was taken over by illegal aliens, that was in a Trump district.
That's true. Yeah.
That wasn't a Biden district. But I appreciate your call, Ronnie, and I get where you're at, man. Thanks so much. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. I got 4 wonderful kids and a great wife, and we didn't have a financial plan for our future. It was the one thing we were missing. Full disclosure, we knew we needed one. When you're thinking about paying for weddings, maybe paying for college down the road for the kids that might want it, you need to have a plan. And we didn't even get to retirement. When you have this many kids, like that's way off in the distance. But we didn't have a plan. We do now, though, because we got to link up with Paul Winkler, Inc. Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required, and because of that, government regulators require that I tell you I'm paid every time this commercial airs. That's the truth. I do get paid. But that's not why I'm a client of Paul's. I'm a client of Paul's because as a guy that was financially illiterate, when I finally got to sit down with Paul, have my questions answered, I started learning a lot. I decided to become a client myself. I'm impressed. Paul's a smart guy. He knows this world better than I do. I can talk politics. Paul can talk finance. Plus, with Paul and his team, nothing is done on commission. That is massive. That is the biggest endorsement I can give them. Nothing is done on commission. When they tell you a financial move for your future, it is for your future because it doesn't impact their paycheck. Nothing is done on commission. If you haven't had a financial plan, if you need to get a financial plan, I really suggest you talk to Paul. He's made my financial goals more realistic by explaining what to do and why. He can do the exact same thing for you, and you're going to learn a lot. The investment education is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research, and every single office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years of experience, and that experience is the difference. So do what I did. Talk to one of his team members. Set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com or call 615-851-1950.
Well, it just keeps getting worse in Montgomery County. Right now, you've got 24 eastbound closed. This is in between exits 8 and 11 because of a crash. You've also got the rolling roadblocks because of pothole repair. That starts at exit 11. And now Cheatham County, rolling roadblocks for pothole patching. That's affecting I-24 westbound right there between exits 11 and 31. House Judiciary Committee sending another subpoena. These stories at more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Hey, Ken, on the Super Text line, our friend Jason
yes, sir,
is requesting that after your 11:30 newscast, you rescue him from 24.
Jason, I need rescue from 24.
Murfreesboro Pike it is, baby. That's how we're getting home.
I'm telling you, dude.
We were also talking about earlier the car thefts and, city leaders from Baltimore, New York, Philadelphia blaming Kia. And Josie Fuss on the Super Text line said he's got a way to fix it. We just need to put up some slash signs on each car that says no theft zone. That's it. And that'll fix everything.
There you go.
And I know I've been flamethrowing Democrats a lot over the past hour, 2 hours, weeks, months. But next, I'll go after Republicans. See? The Freudian slip. I'll go after Republicans. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in our nation's capital, the House Judiciary Committee sending a subpoena to the Fulton County District Attorney in Georgia, demanding she produce documents regarding her office's use of federal grant dollars. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
The subpoena isn't focused on the racketeering case against Donald Trump, but rather how Fani Willis's office has used federal grant money earmarked for youth empowerment and gang prevention. Republicans point to a recent report that Willis fired a whistleblower who more than 2 years ago warned that at least some of the Justice Department funds were at risk of being spent on computers, travel, and, quote, swag.
Jordan says Willis, that's Jim Jordan, says Willis has failed to comply with 2 earlier requests for documents there from the House Judiciary Committee. It's Jobs Friday, and last month saw a boom.
U.S. payrolls increased by 353,000 jobs in January, far higher than the 185,000 that were expected. That also exceeded the number of jobs added in December, which the Labor Department revised upward to 333,000. The unemployment rate steady at a half-century low 3.7%. All this means Americans are continuing to spend despite higher interest rates, and employers are willing to hire to meet that demand. And it could mean that the Fed's higher interest rates meant to slow inflation could be with us longer.
That's Dave Packer reporting. And the world's most watched rodent emerged today at Gobbler's Knob and gave his verdict on the rest of the winter.
Thousands of people headed to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania for Phil's annual forecast, and he did not see his shadow.
Glad tidings on this Groundhog Day. An early spring is on the way.
A federal agency says this forecast is only about 40% accurate, but it's now more official. Governor Josh Shapiro announced that Punxsutawney Phil is now Pennsylvania's official meteorologist.
Brian Clark reporting, and that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. It's 11:05. Make sure you find me on Twitter, Instagram, True Social, at Chris Hand on Air. I'll follow back if you follow. And we do the podcast. The podcast will be available on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Store, whatever they call it now. It's everywhere. Send it to your friends. Thomas in Huntland, Tennessee wants to talk about massive theft real quick. What's up, Thomas?
Yes, sir. I just believe that all they should do is refund the police and let them do their job, and that'll take all of the theft and the Kia problem away.
I'm with you, man. I think that's the quickest way to do it. You know, and all these areas that are having the issues are the ones that have defunded and demonized the police.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
I spent 8 years in the military defending the Constitution just to have all of this come around.
Oh, well, hey, I appreciate your service, man. I really do.
Appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, man. Have a good...
What you do, getting the word out on stuff.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Have a good rest of your day, all right?
You too, sir. Bye.
You know, and Democrats are definitely a huge problem. They are. And I said before the break that I got to go after Republicans, too. And I kind of Freudian slipped, and I said Democrats. Because it seems to me that there is a war going on in the Republican Party. There's the establishment, and then there's the MAGA guard. And the establishment Republicans are in charge of a lot of the institutions. The RNC being, you know, the elephant in the room. Ronna McDaniel in charge of the RNC. Niece of Mitt Romney, Ronna McRomney. A new report's come out, and it's revealed that the RNC is looking for a $10 million line of credit. And the $10 million line of credit that they're looking for is going to be collateralized with the RNC donor list. Huh. That's strange. Multiple sources say that the RNC winter meeting today, committee members were told that there's a $10 million line of credit that the RNC executive committee is seeking. $5 million of which is going to be used in the proposed 2024 budget. And it's going to be collateralized with the RNC donor list. Red State's Jennifer Van Laar reported that. And the revelation comes as we see new reports showing how much the RNC has been spending. So you're looking for a $10 million loan with the collateral being your donor list. So if you've ever donated to the RNC, congrats, you're now collateral for the Republican Party if they get this loan. And
so what do they do if they default on the loan? The list they can sell that list.
They get the list. They get to sell the list.
So all your information
everything.
Oh boy.
So if anybody that's donated to this, you are collateral for the RNC. Doesn't that sound awesome? Is that what you signed up for when you donated to John McCain 8 years ago? Oh gosh, it's even longer than that. That's what you signed up for. And this comes after we find out the spending habits of the RNC. The spending habits are absurd. I don't know if you've been keeping up with this, and I'm sure you have because you guys pay attention more than any other audience. You're not the NPR audience, so I'm sure you've seen this. Red State has a report that the RNC spent $1.5 million on floral arrangements, on flowers. We're spending $1.5 million on flowers. Flowers. Is that wait? When you donated, or when you're let's even not even you, when your grandmother took money from her Social Security check, $50 on a fixed income, to donate it to the RNC because she thought the left was lunacy. And she's right. Grandma's right. When she donated that $50, do you think she would have done it if she knew $1.5 million was being spent on flowers? Flowers. I'm sorry. It frustrates me to no end.
When you hear that, it makes it so much easier to understand why we're in $34 trillion of debt.
Yes.
These people have no fiscal responsibility on anything.
And they're supposed to be conservative. This is the conservative party. Flowers. They spent over $1 million on consultants. The consultant class. To put that in perspective, though, the RNC spent over $1 million on consultants. The DNC spent $114,000. Who's winning more elections? Office supplies. Let's do office. You want to do office supplies? Staplers, tape, pens, pencils, red tape. The RNC spent $297,000 on office supplies. I'm rounding these numbers out because it's easier than doing the cents. And to be fair, rounded down. $297,000 on office supplies. Office supplies. You want to know how much the DNC spent on office supplies? $45K.
Yeah, I was going to say they probably steal most of their stuff from the Capitol building.
But hey, you know what? To be fair, things cost more in California and New York than they do in Alabama and Mississippi. $297K on office supplies for the RNC to $45K. Limousines. You gotta roll in Ric Flair style. You know what I mean? You got to be in your limousine. RNC spent $263,000 on limousines. The DNC spent $7,000 on limousines. I remember when Donald Trump was in office, the big thing was ahead of schedule, under budget. Currently, when we're staring down the barrel of 2024, we are behind schedule and vastly over budget, to the point where they're looking to take out a $10 million line of credit using the RNC donor list as collateral. Does this not infuriate you? Because it infuriates me. The establishment Republicans are a far greater threat to us than the Democrat Party. My wife and I were talking, and she said to me, she goes, the thing that bothers me is that there's so much doubt when people talk about the next election. Why is there so much doubt? And I said, because we're not just battling the Democrats. We're battling the establishment Republicans. We're battling the leftist media. We're battling the bureaucrat class. We're battling the military-industrial complex. And this overspending is ridiculous. When Joe Biden is getting over $200 million from super PACs for ad campaigns, and our RNC is trying to take out a $10 million loan, it highlights the absurdity. We can say that the Democrats' policies are out of order, but they want to advance those policies, and you know what? Their priorities to advance those policies are in order. Their ducks are in a row. And now, the RNC has a cash shortage. Short on cash. And Trump, he gets donations. It's tied up in legal fees. I will say this. I don't know if we need to spend more money to get the same results. And I think that we can look at the primary season with Nikki Haley overspending, DeSantis overspending, and losing to Trump as an indicator of that. But as we get into this general election, if we have the same people running the RNC, it's not going to bode well for us. The RNC spends significantly more when it comes to office supplies, management consulting, floral arrangements, media booking consultants, and limousines. I feel like we could scratch a bunch of that off the list immediately. Floral arrangements. If I spent at any company $1 million on floral arrangements, even if we're taking in billions a year, I doubt Apple has $1 million budget for floral arrangements. $1 million. The Republicans are just as bad. The Republican establishment class that we're battling against is just as bad as the Democrats. Maybe even worse. We have to deal with the enemy inside our camps first. James in McMinnville, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, James?
Hey, bro, I got something other for you here. If look up and see how much money they've spent on bottled water, and if they really cared anything at all about us, they would brown bag it.
Appreciate the call, James. Thanks, man.
That's actually a pretty funny point. Do you follow Tim Burchett on Twitter?
I do.
Have you seen how many times he'll like tweet his dinner from his office, and it's a PB&J?
Really?
Yeah, he's just sitting there in his office eating PB&J.
But Tim's
because he's got his priorities in order.
Tim's one of the real ones, though, and that's why he's had a target on his back.
Yeah.
Anytime you're attacked and you're slandered and they go after you, it's because you have a target on your back. I've come to the realization that with a lot of my politicians, if you're not being attacked and accused of things and slandered, you're probably making deals in the background. But the RNC spends so much more. On average, the RNC spends $83,000 a month on management consulting. $83,000 a month. Are you kidding? $83,000 a month? They're spending money like it's going out of style. And you know what? If we keep spending it this way and the Democrats win in 2024, it is going to go out of style. We'll have wheelbarrows full of cash and people will be more inclined to steal the wheelbarrow. Larry in Clarksville, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Larry?
Hey, Chris. Good to talk to you, brother.
Good, man. How you feeling? I haven't talked to you in a minute.
Well, I've been in CCU for 6 weeks, man, but I'm home.
Hey, welcome back.
The heart's operating at 25%, which is better. But Ronna McDaniels needs to go.
Yes.
This is, look at the elections we have lost since she's been in charge. They're spending all this money on bull crap. She needs to go. Somebody needs to step up and have the C.O. Jones that Uncle Phil used to call them and get her rear end out of there. And we need to get somebody in there that will spend the money wisely. Otherwise, we're going to be facing another 4 years of Biden and Kamala.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Larry. I'm glad you're feeling better, man. And I appreciate your call.
All right. Love you, brother.
All right, man. Love you. Bye. Larry's back. That's nice. Glad to hear from Larry. But he's right. Ronna needs to go. Nikki Haley still thinks that she has a chance. And she blames Trump for the losses in 2018, 2020, 22. But she ignores the elephant in the room, which is Ronna McDaniel and the RNC. Completely ignores it. $1 million on flowers. Listen, if your grandmother's on a fixed income and she's thinking about donating to the RNC, tell her it'd be a better use of that $50 to burn it. Seriously. I don't say that lightly. It would be better to burn it than to send $50 to the RNC so they can add it to their $1 million floral arrangements. Highfalutin. It's 11:20 on Super Talk. 99.7 WTN.
Man, I'm telling you, driving on 24 through Montgomery County right now is just no picnic. It is closed eastbound between Rossview Road and MLK Parkway because of a crash. There are rolling roadblocks beyond that due to pothole repair that has both east and westbound 24 slow going through Montgomery. Then in Cheatham County, you got 24 westbound between New Hope Road and MLK Parkway. That is some pothole patching. And lawmakers in Tennessee may change the way schools respond to fire alarms so students aren't sitting ducks. Details coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is 11:24 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're talking about the RNC and how much we dislike them. 3569 texted in the Super Text line. 3569 says, is the RNC head hiring family members too? As you know, the squad has been hiring family members and all of that. You know, I will say this. I don't know if Ronna McDaniel gets the job if she's not Mitt Romney's niece. It's very incestuous. 5331 said, didn't Vivek call her out during one of the debates? Why, yes. Yes, he did.
Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017. We have lost 2018, 2020. 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party.
Amen.
For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party.
Yeah, and the best part about that is he's on the debate stage at a debate sponsored by the RNC. Hey, I'll yield my time to you, Ronna, if you want to come up and resign. Is that what we want? We got my buddy RFK Bro in the borough on the line, and he wants to talk about the RNC. RFK Bro, what's up?
I just want to call and thank you for supporting RFK today. So I can really make a good case.
I'm not supporting a gun grabber, green energy. I'm not supporting him. I like his stances on vaccines, though.
I like his stances on a lot of stuff. I like his stances on the border. I like his stances on foreign war. I like his stances on a lot of different things. But more than anything, I really like the fact that he's really trying to break the system in terms that's kept all the fighting, that's kept everything tied up with just fighting with each other. He's really wanting to attack the issue and not just find another way to attack your opponent.
No, I get that.
And I feel like,
listen, I'll say this. I think the cool thing about RFK is that he is himself. I think that his stances are he's come to them organically, and they're well thought out for what he believes in. And at the same time, I don't agree with a lot of them at all. So, but both things can be true.
Well, I rarely get feedback. Usually most people are just silent about him, and I don't understand. The arguments I've heard against him have typically just been what the left wing media has been trying to say and sort of the narrative. If they talk about him at all, it's usually they call him a conspiracy theorist, they call him an anti-vaxxer. Or
well, yeah, they're giving him the same treatment they gave Tulsi Gabbard during after she ended Kamala Harris's political career at the DNC debates. You know, Tulsi Gabbard called Kamala out about her marijuana convictions in front of a group of black moms in Detroit, and that effectively ended Kamala as the presidential hopeful. But you're a level-headed guy, I think, and that's why I like listening to your show. I appreciate it.
And I'm curious what your oppositions are, because that's something that, I mean, vote's not around. I still could vote some other way, but I'm not inclined to vote either Republican or Democrat either way. But I am kind of curious, what are his positions that you do disagree about, so I can
I think,
learn more about him maybe.
I think that he's a big green energy guy. I don't think that he would end a lot of the climate tyranny. I think that he's a gun grabber. I don't think he's as pro-2A as we need.
I don't think that's the case. Now, the green energy thing, I don't think is actually true either.
I mean, he built his career off cleaning up the Hudson River in New York. He said that people should be
polluting, about pollution, sure, but I don't think that's necessarily green energy. There's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have it right up in front of me. I've had notes on this, and I've thought it out. I don't have it off the top of my head, but he's.
If he were, I think there needs to be, in terms of energy, there definitely needs to be there needs to be a variety of sources of energy. We can't keep relying on one. We definitely need to start looking at other energy sources.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, and if you want to talk nuclear, I'm all ears. But if you want to talk little kids in the Congo mining lithium, I'm not really for that.
I'm not for that either. Yeah, I'm with you.
Right.
I think we still agree, man. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, I mean, we agree on everything except for the fact that RFK should be president. Other than that, like we're pretty much aligned. Thanks for calling, RFK, bro. I appreciate you. John, Gene, I'll get to your calls on the way. Hang out with us. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And 1 week after stepping down from his positions in the pro wrestling empire he built, Vince McMahon is now subject of a federal investigation. Brian Clark says the nature of the investigation not clear.
The Southern District of New York is investigating former pro wrestling executive Vince McMahon, who stepped down from WWE's parent company after a former employee in a lawsuit accused him of psychological torture and physical violence. McMahon's denied wrongdoing in his dealings with Janelle Grant. His attorney and a WWE spokesman did not respond to ABC's request for comment.
Right now in Tennessee, lawmakers may change the way schools respond to fire alarms. The idea is that sending kids outside immediately makes them easy targets for mass shooters. It's what happened 6 years ago in Parkland, Florida. So a bill by House Majority Leader William Lamberth would change protocol to find out if the unannounced fire alarm is real before sending kids outside. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We were talking about Ronna McDaniel and the RNC.
Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017. We have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party.
Yeah, and she's still in power, and we're spending $1.5 million on floral arrangements in the RNC. Gotta love it. John in Smyrna, you're next on Super Talk. What's going on, man?
Good morning.
What's up? How are you?
Good morning. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My complaint with the RNC, and I have had this complaint for 20 plus years, is we're not getting anything for our money. I contribute to the RNC, the Republicans win, and what changes? Nothing. At one point, I think it was like 86, 88, telling my age here, we had the House, the Senate, and I believe the White House. They shut down the government for 4 weeks and then caved in to the Democrats. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not getting anything for my money, so I'm not contributing.
No, I get what you're saying, John, and I think that the issue is the establishment Republicans versus the new Republican Party that's forming inside. And I think there's a battle between the two groups, and I think we're watching it play out in real time.
I exchanged letters with the head of the Tennessee Republican Party at one point, making this complaint. What am I getting for my money? What have you done different from the Democrats? I got a 2-page letter back in response that boiled down to, well, if you think it's bad now, how bad would it be if the Democrats were in power?
I mean,
That's the best you can come up with?
I'm looking at the receipts. The Democrats don't spend $1.5 million on floral arrangements.
Oh, I don't doubt that the RNC spends more money. I'm saying would not object to contributing, and they could go ahead and spend this money if we got any results.
Yeah,
I don't see any.
I mean, I think we're witnessing the process of a takeover of the Republican Party. It is completely changed from where we were even 10 years ago. We're a totally different party.
Well, I hope so, because right now I would not send the Republican Party, or in all fairness, the Democrat Party, what my cat leaves in the litter box.
Hey, I don't even blame you at all, John. I think you're in line with how a lot of people are feeling at ground level about these establishment figures in politics and what their priorities are and how their priorities are not aligned with the citizens of this country.
To quote Shakespeare, a plague on both your houses.
Yeah, I get it, man.
I refer to them as the Republicrats and the Democranes.
I get it, John. I appreciate your call, my man. Thanks. And I do think that we're witnessing this change in the Guard. Like on one side, you have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who will hold up naked pictures of Hunter Biden on the floor and call him out and say things like this about Ilhan Omar.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota.
You have that. And then on the flip side, you have the old guard of Republicans, guys like Ken Buck, who says he doesn't even see any evidence to impeach Mayorkas.
Well, this is not a high crime or misdemeanor. It's not an impeachable offense. This is a policy difference. Let me, from the outset, say there is a crisis on the border. The law needs to be enforced.
Oh, it's a policy difference.
Not doing your job is a policy difference.
This is what we're up against. You got to deal with the problems in-house. It's like the Jordan Peterson line. Clean your room before you change the world. Our room is a mess, and we have Republicans in there like Ken Buck, who doesn't even think Mayorkas has committed impeachable offenses. Well, if he doesn't think Mayorkas has committed impeachable offenses, he probably doesn't think Joe Biden has committed impeachable offenses. Do you agree with that? This is what we're up against.
Ridiculous.
This is what we're up against. We have an invasion at the southern border. We're spending tax dollars on these people. We're giving them our kids' schools, the rec centers for our kids in this country to house them. You have a Democrat alderman in Chicago going, well, if they gave me $9,000 and 3 hot meals and a place to live, I'd move to Chicago too. They're doing it on the taxpayer dime. You don't think this is an impeachable offense, the invasion that's happening?
But if we start going down this path of impeachment with a cabinet official, we are opening a door as Republicans that we don't want to open. The next president, who is a Republican, will face the same scrutiny from Democrats. It's wrong, and we should not set this precedent.
That's Ken Buck. We should not set this precedent. Oh, you mean the precedent that has been set by the Democrats when they would impeach Trump over a perfectly fine phone call? Does Ken Buck really think that if Trump wins the next election, he's going to get into office and not have to deal with more impeachments, more Russia hoaxes? He honestly believes that. He honestly believes that Alejandro Mayorkas has not committed an impeachable offense. And furthermore, he says he wouldn't vote for it.
Have leaders been trying to convince you otherwise? And is there anything that will change your mind? Or when you say solid no, you mean solid no?
Yeah, I'm not changing my mind. I have met with Chairman Green from the Homeland Security Committee. I have met with the staff. I have talked to outside constitutional experts. I've talked to former members of Congress about what this would mean for Congress. I believe I have done my due diligence, and I am standing firm at this point on this. If there's some new evidence, I'm happy to look at it, but I don't believe there will be.
He's not going to vote for impeachment of Mayorkas. He said he spoke to Mark Green. I wonder what Mark Green thinks about this guy. I'm honestly curious. He thinks Mayorkas has not committed impeachable offenses. This is what we're up against. This is what we're up against in the Republican Party, and we need to look at our own house first. It's not just Ken Buck. Senator Mike Rounds, he's a Republican out of South Dakota. He's suggesting, this Republican is suggesting that it's Russian influence that has manipulated opponents of the border compromise. The same border compromise that would allow 5,000 illegal aliens in the country per day. He says it's Russian influence that has manipulated the opponents of that border compromise. And I quote, he said Wednesday, I quote, "I suspect that a lot of the internet rumors are very well coming from overseas, where they would love to see this shut down because some people would rather not see funding for Ukraine." And there it is. He outs himself in his own statement. They care more about other countries' citizens than you. Period. And this is what we're dealing with the old Republican Guard. This is the same problem that we're dealing with the Democrats. They don't care about you. Jim in the borough, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Jim?
Hey, Chris. Chris, you got to explain to me why we're going after Mayorkas. What are we going to gain by an impeachment of Mayorkas? Because I'm not getting that.
You don't think that he should be impeached?
No, I think we're wasting time on an impeachment with him. There's so much stuff to do, and we're going and burning money. What are we going to gain from the impeachment? What are we actually going to get from that?
Maybe we get somebody that's going to enforce the laws.
By when? I mean, with the clock is ticking, all it does is give them an opportunity to say, okay, well, we'll entertain looking at that impeachment. It's another day they burn in Congress.
Listen, I think that they should have impeached him a year ago when McCarthy said that he would do it day one.
I agree, but that's gone.
So you'd be fine to just taking the knee, running out the clock until the presidential election?
No, I think we should be focusing on Biden and focusing on the laws at the border. But Mayorkas is just a pawn. They're giving him marching orders, and he's taking care of it. He's nobody.
Listen, I don't disagree with you that somebody would get in there and would continue the same policies of Mayorkas.
Exact same thing, exactly. Until 24, until the election.
So you just want to run out the clock?
Well, I'd rather focus on other stuff.
What stuff?
I mean, the list is endless. The border is the primary thing. Let's look at Biden. Let's continue with his son. Let's look at voter fraud.
See, I'd be more willing to run out the clock on Biden than Mayorkas.
But what are we actually going to gain by impeaching him? Well, what does impeachment do? It does nothing. It sends a message, but they know the message. They don't care.
Well, I agree with you that they don't care.
But what do we gain by the impeachment? I'd rather focus on something else.
All right, man. That's your opinion. I just think that it's more of an indictment of our own Republican Party that this man doesn't think there's any evidence for an impeachment.
I'm with you 100%. They're all dregs. No, I mean, except for a handful. I'm totally with you on the Republican Party.
Well, and I can agree with you that they would just put somebody else in there that would continue the same policies.
Yep.
But my issue is that we have a Republican here, a Republican senator that doesn't think there's any evidence for impeachment in Ken Buck. And we have another Republican senator who says the only reason people are opposing the border deal is because of internet rumors coming from overseas, and thinks that Americans are only not wanting to see funding for Ukraine because of Russian influence. And these are Republicans.
I know. Believe me, the dysfunction runs high in the Republican Party. I'm totally with you on that.
Hey, I appreciate your call, Jim. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I think he has half a point because the Senate's not going to convict Mayorkas at all. But what the Republicans are going to do, if they get it over there and the Senate shoots it down, they're going to be able to point to every single one of those Democrats that voted against it and say, you voted to keep the borders open and to keep all of this happening.
Let's get them on record.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a big part of it. But I also agree. It's like the policy is set by Biden. I get where his head's at. And I also get the fact of, like, if it's not going to pass the Senate, why are we wasting money on it when we're $34 trillion in debt?
Because, like you said, it puts them on the record that they're good with this. They vote for this to happen if they don't impeach him.
I know. And we need to, I think it's more important to get those Republicans on record than it is the Democrats. We know what the Democrats think. We know what the Democrats oppose. I think it's much more valuable to find out which Republicans won't put their money where their mouth is, because we have a lot of bad Republicans. A lot. I mean, hell, the border deal was set up basically by James Lankford out of Oklahoma. Like, these are our guys, air quotes. These are our guys setting these deals. Unbelievable. It's 11:48 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're going to check in with Matt Murphy and see what's coming up on Murphy's Show next. Hang out with us on Super Talk.
Morning. See the groundhog?
Yeah?
Think it'll be an early spring.
Didn't we do this yesterday?
Matt Murphy joining us in studio on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up? It's Chris Hand.
What is up, Chris?
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
It's Groundhog Day. I had a big poll up on the Murphy Show X machine, and I don't know that we're going to do our annual Groundhog Day bit. I was just telling you about it off air. I don't think we're going to do it because the host has been lazy.
Matt Murphy joining us in studio. It's Chris Hand. What's up? What's up, Matt?
Hey, what's up, Chris? How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Great. I'm doing all right. You know, I don't think we're going to do the Groundhog Day. Where are you on that movie?
I'm all right with it. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was anything spectacular.
I absolutely love it. I got into it. I dived deep into that movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's your favorite part?
All of it. Again and again and again and again. So they've done. People smarter than me have extrapolated the amount of time that he was in the time loop.
Okay.
Because, you've got clues, like how long would it take him to learn piano? How long would it take him to learn French? Like how long would it take him to learn these things that he learned ice sculpting? And he's in the loop, like the suggestion is he's in the loop like 1,000 years. Like it's an insane.
I think it was longer than that.
I mean,
like 10,000?
10,000 years or something like that. Which is why he eventually, of course, tries to off himself or whatever. But great movie. It's on some channel on a loop, ironically enough, all day today, and I'll be watching later on tonight.
I haven't watched it in some years. Is it safe enough for kids? What's the rating on it?
It was PG when it originally came out.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what would you say? I mean, yeah, I mean, there's some
PG. PG
I mean,
back in the days was different.
He tries to kill himself late in the movie quite a bit. I mean, he's throwing toasters in the.
How old's your oldest?
10.
You might want to watch it first.
Yeah. I always the PG.
Yeah, I don't know where your line is.
Like I like the older stuff with the kids, but like 16 Candles was PG, and you see a pair of boobs.
Right before PG-13. Right.
Yeah.
PG was really stretching the line, and eventually somebody goes, "What are we doing here?"
It gets a little dicey between
it's Temple of Doom
and
and the heart being pulled out that caused PG-13 to happen.
Was it?
Yeah.
That was scary. That's still scary. Anyway, so we've got to look. I was listening. I don't want to get away from this. I want to troll you. You ready for me to troll you? I don't, and I actually mean this. I do not believe in giving money to any organization that has anything to do with politics. I don't believe in giving to the RNC. I don't believe in giving to Club for Growth. I don't believe in giving to, no offense, Turning Point. I don't believe in giving to any of these organizations.
Because I've heard this take.
I believe in giving to individuals. If you believe in a candidate, give to a candidate. Giving to the organization, sadly, for some organizations that really focus on making sure their money is well spent, their money's well spent. For some organizations, they just waste money hand over fist, and I don't have the time to vet which is which is why I just don't do it.
I believe in individuals, too. I think it means more that way. Like my wife donated to Trump in 2016. He still emails her about that. He'll say, Virginia, you've been with me since the beginning.
Did your wife get a thing? My wife got a thing suitable for framings. Like you're a hero in the Trump camp or something. Or another.
Our wives are pretty dope.
I didn't get one.
I don't get the emails.
Erica got one. So,
He emails her all the time. The whole family does.
Not me.
I'm with you on individuals.
Not me. Yeah. So there it goes.
Matt Murphy's on his way in next. It's going to be a fantastic show over and over and over.
I hope.
Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.